This is BTech Math. I am Lenny Kutsia and welcome to this lesson on the trial balance. Now first, before we start, we gotta ask ourselves, what is the trial balance? Well, the trial balance is just a list of balances from our general ledger or a list of balances from our T accounts. And then we need to ask, why do we draw up the trial balance? Well, it's to ensure that every debit has an equal credit entry. And this, of course, comes from our double entry principle. Now, before we have a look at the trial balance and before we do the exercise, we need to see how the accounting equation ties into our trial balance. First of all, let's have a look at our assets. If our asset increases, we'll put that on the debit side, and if it decreases, we'll put it on the credit side. So for a rule, when an asset is on our trial balance, it will come on the debit side. For our liabilities, if it increases, it comes on the credit side, and if it decreases, it comes on the debit side. And again here, for a rule, if a liability is on our trial balance, it will be displayed on the credit side. The owner's equity, of course, is divided into two areas, outflows and inflows. Your outflows is made up of our expenses and drawings, and your inflows is made up of income and capital. Now, when we have an inflow, it will display on the credit side of our trial balance. So all income and all capital will be displayed on the credit side of the trial balance, and all our outflows, which include our expenses and drawings, this will be displayed on the debit side of the trial balance. Now, with that info, let's have a look at an exercise. Over here we have a trial balance of Doors and Gates CC as at the 30th of August 2015. Now, as you can see, this trial balance does not balance. The debit and credit side is not equal. What we need to do is we need to rectify the trial balance and add the adjustments. So the first step we need to do, we firstly need to rectify our trial balance. We firstly need to put the items that belong on the debit side, and the items that belong on the credit side we need to put on the credit side. So we need to use our accounting equation map when we do this exercise. Now firstly, let's have a look at capital. Capital, if we had to classify it in our accounting equation map, capital is an inflow, and all inflows should come on the credit side. And as we can see here, capital is on the credit side, so it will be correct. So we can copy that over on the credit side. The second item on our list is buildings. Buildings is an asset, and all assets on the trial balance should be displayed on the debit side. It is also displayed on the debit side, so that is also correct. Plant and machinery, that's also an asset, but it's here on the credit side. So we should transfer this to the debit side because it's an asset, and all assets should be displayed on the debit side. Then provision for depreciation on buildings and on machinery, these are negative assets. They decrease the initial asset, so they should be displayed on the credit side. Sales is an inflow, and all inflows need to be recorded on the credit side. So then we should move it from the debit side to the credit side and add the provision for depreciation as well. Discount received, well, discount received is also an inflow, it's an income, and it should be recorded on the credit side as it is here. So no changes needs to be made on discount received. Then we have opening stock. Opening stock is again an asset, and an asset in the trial balance should be on the debit side. It is on the debit side, so no changes needs to be made there. Our debtors, well, if you can remember, our debtors is an asset because our debtors are all customers that buy goods and services from us on credit. So our debtors will owe us money. So our debtors is an asset, and it's displayed here on the credit side. So we need to rectify that and put that on the debit side. Purchases is an expense, which is an outflow, and all our outflows should be displayed on the debit side on our trial balance. Fuel is also an expense, and it should be on the debit side. Carriage inwards is also an expense. Computer expenses is also an expense. So all of these do not need to be rectified, so we can just copy them over. Bank is an asset, and an asset should come on the debit side, so we also can just copy it over. Our creditors are the opposite. of our debtors. Debtors owe us money, we owe creditors money. So everything we owe is a liability. So our creditors will fall under the category of liabilities, and all liabilities should be displayed on the credit side. So we should move this debit balance to the credit side. There we are. Maintenance on building is an expense, and as we said, our expenses needs to be debited in the trial balance. Rent paid is an expense and it's on the debit side, so we can just copy it over. Water electricity is also an expense, but here the balance is on the credit side, so we again need to move it to the debit side. And then our last account is our loan from XYZ Bank. Our loan is a liability because we need to pay the loan back, and our liabilities need to be displayed on the credit side, and we can just copy it over. Now we need to add up our debit side and our credit side. Our debit side is $301,827 and our credit side is also $301,827. So we rectified our trial balance. We now need to do these two adjustments. Now our first adjustment is as follows. Rent paid was for 13 months. Over here we can see rent paid is for $19,500. So we paid $19,500 for 13 months. So if we divide 19,500 divided by 13, that means our rent per month that we should have paid was 1,500 per month. And if we paid 1,500 per month for 12 months, then our rent expense for the year must be 18,000. So this 1,500 was overpaid. It was paid for next year, and we call that a prepayment. Now a prepayment is a current asset, and all our assets need to be debited. Now how will we do this adjustment on our trial balance? Well, what we need to do is put in the 18,000 for our rent paid, because what we needed to do there was take our 19,500 less our 1,500, and then we'll get 18,000. But then also we need to add our current asset of prepayments of 1,500. The second adjustment was for computer expenses were accrued by 4,512. What this means is we need to add this 4,512 to our computer expenses. So this will mean our computer expense will increase. So if our expense increase, we'll put it on the debit side. So we will have 15,511 plus 4,512. If we add these two up, it will get us 20,023 Namibian dollars. So how will we put this adjustment in our trial balance? Well, our expense will increase by 4,512 and we will have an accrued expense, which is a liability of 4,212, and all liabilities will be stated on our trial balance on the credit side. So firstly, we'll have an adjustment for our computer expenses, 15,511 plus the 4,512. This will give us the 20,023, and then we will have an accrued expense of 4,512. And then if we add up our debit side, $306,339, and our credit side is also $306,339. And that's it. When doing the trial balance, please use your accounting equation map. This will help you so that you know that all assets should come on the debit side, all liabilities should come on the credit side, and that all inflows, which is income and capital, should come on the credit side, and all expenses and all drawings should come on the debit side. For more lessons, guys, you can go to www.beatagmath.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.